Hello, this video demonstration is going to look at Airmid. Airmid is a patient-facing mobile application that's available on iOS and Android. It has been developed and produced by TPP and therefore works alongside SystmOne. Airmid combines popular SystmOne functionality such as appointment booking, medication requesting, as well as new functionalities such as sending push notifications to patients' devices. It allows patients to input their own data, which then feeds into their SystmOne medical record. It also integrates with health platforms such as Apple Health Kit and Google Fit. In light of the recent COVID-19 outbreak, we're also going to show how the video consultations functionality works between Airmid and SystmOne. This might be useful for caring for patients remotely. So subject to your organisation settings, patients registered at your organisation can use Airmid to do a variety of different things. So things such as access to their medical record, managing their appointments, being able to consult with staff members via Airmid, completing templates or surveys that you might have published for patients to fill in, receiving notifications from your organisation, which therefore opens up a new method of communication with groups of patients, being able to add new data to their medical record, such as adding key numeric readings and information about daily conditions. Patients can also set up reminders to take their medication on time, and it allows other users of Airmid to view and add data to their record, just as proxy access now works within SystmOne. Okay, so let's start by looking within SystmOne at some of the settings surrounding Airmid. So these are all located within organisation preferences, and it'll be underneath your online services folder and then Airmid. So the enable Airmid tick box, that's how you switch it on straight away for your organisation. And then the next thing you can do is to set the default whether data entered via Airmid can also be seen in SystmOne. So you can set this as default to be switched on for your organisation, but then switch it off on a patient by patient basis as well if you think that's necessary, as explained in the yellow boxes. This screen also allows you to automatically send notifications when a pathology or radiology result has been filed, and you can set a bespoke message for this. So a patient will receive a notification when they have a new pathology result to view. So all of these other options underneath online services remain the same as your SystmOne. So they're basically those controls that you have over SystmOne currently, they move across to Airmid as well. So it might be worth going in here and reviewing some things. So for instance, you might want to be adding like a video consultation slot into the slots that might be being made available on appointment booking, and also perhaps setting any more specific constraints to do with which clinicians' rows can be booked into via Airmid, etc. It also might be worth reviewing your medication requesting controls. So this gives you control over how many days before a patient's medication is due that they can actually send a request through to your organisation. So organisation profile. This can be used to set a default banner image when a patient first logs onto an app, and also to set a description of your service. Your patient record access is also the same, so you can set the dates for which a patient can access their full record or can see their full record from a specific consultation date, or if it's just from the date that they've registered for that for SystmOne or for Airmid onwards. Another preference that we recommend you look at is the tab journal option. So this is within the clinical policy folder of organisation preferences. So currently you might have some tabs set up to just filter to community data set within a patient record or GP data entered within a patient record. We recommend you add one in here as well for patient app. So you can do this by clicking the plus on the right hand side, giving it a name. So we've already got one here for patient app. So if I just amend this, so give it a name like patient app, and then the key here is to use the events recorded by organisation of type and move across the patient app option. So this will make sure you've got an extra tab within your tab journal that will just show data entered by the patient within Airmid. Okay, so we've looked at some of the organisation settings. Let's look within a patient's record now and look at how the online services node has changed. So the answer to that is it hasn't really at all. So all of their existing SystmOne access is then transferred over to Airmid. So for this particular patient, they already have a username and password for SystmOne. They can use that to log into Airmid. So their service access also remains the same, but this can be amended just as before for SystmOne. So being able to grant patients access to having medication requests in, or perhaps to appointment booking. There is also an extra tab here for Airmid. So I mentioned before there's some defaults for sharing patient data or being able to see the data entered by a patient into Airmid. This is where you can switch this off on a patient by patient basis if you wanted to as well. So I mentioned already our patient has already registered for SystmOne, therefore they could just put in their username and password into their Airmid app and they'll be able to access their record, do medication requests, etc. Registration can also be done via the NHS login. So we've moved to the app now, so you can see this is where you'd put in a username and password, but there's also this option at the bottom for continue with NHS login. So if a patient clicks on this, they're then taken to the NHS login details screen. They can enter their email address and password as will have already been set up via NHS login. It then sends a security code to their mobile number and they have to enter in the 6-digit code. So we'll just enter that 6-digit number now and click continue. This then verifies them against the NHS login credentials and creates them an Airmid account. As part of the app, you can set up fingerprint authentication. So instead of logging in with your details, you can just use your fingerprint if your mobile device allows it. So this is the home screen of Airmid. It can be configured using the blue plus at the bottom to add little quick links to things. So for instance, here I might want to add a quick link to our medication requests. This is the banner we talked about before as well, which you can change in your organisation settings. So in the top left-hand corner, you get 3 lines which will take us to our patient menu. So first option here is the patient's profile. They can upload a photo if they want, they can amend their demographics. So this works in the same way as SystmOne in that if something is changed, so for instance if I change the telephone number here, it will send a notification back to the organisation via a task. So let's work our way down the menu here. So the first thing we've got is notifications. So notifications, like we said before, can be sent from the SystmOne unit to either one or a number of patients via a bulk action. It can be just text or it can have a template or survey attached to it, like this COVID-19 symptom checker one. This is a template that we've designed for demonstration. So you can get the patient to fill in the survey details, and then using a protocol within SystmOne, you can then get it to launch and ask further questions to the patient. This information can then be fed back to your SystmOne unit. The next menu item is messages. So the messages functionality allows bidirectional conversation between a clinician and a patient. So here I can see any previous conversations and the discussion that was had. Now as the patient, I can reply to this if I want. A new message can be sent to a clinician by using the plus option in the bottom right hand corner, and then the appropriate clinician can be ticked. These lists of clinicians can be set in your organisation preferences, so which clinicians are allowed to receive messages. Our next option in the menu is appointments. So this shows any existing appointments I have booked. So I've got an appointment booked already for the end of March, and in here I can see the details of that appointment and can perhaps add a reminder to my calendar. So this is particularly useful because it'll set up an event within the patient's calendar on their mobile device. If I want to book a new appointment, again I click the plus in the bottom right hand corner. These are organisations that I have available to me to book an appointment with. These are the staff members that I have available to me. And any day that's got a green underneath it means there's appointments available. I can then select the time, put in a reason, set it to remind me as well within my calendar. It then lets me know the appointment's been booked. This now appears on my future booked appointments within Airmid. So what about video consultation appointments? Let's start within SystmOne. So I've already got a rota here and it's got some of the video consultation slots within that rota. An appointment's been booked and marked as arrived. As a clinician, I can now right click and do Start Airmid Conversation. This has now opened up the patient's record and displayed a code, which can then be copied and pasted into a browser that's also been opened. The clinician has now appeared in the bottom half of the screen, and the patient has now appeared in the top half of the screen. They can conduct the consultation as normal, and because SystmOne is open behind, the clinician can record in their history examination, diagnosis box, etc., as they usually would. The browser can be closed when the conversation is finished. The details of the conversation are entered and are saved into the record. Let's move back to the app. So we're looking through our menu options, and now let's go to the next option in the menu, which is medication requests. So medication requests can be seen similar to SystmOne, so that you've got past requests and you can look at previous request details. It will also show ending pending requests, so ones that a patient sent but have not yet been dealt with. So I want to do a new one, again plus in the bottom right hand corner, and then a patient can select an organisation that has this functionality switched on, pick which medication it is that they're wanting to request. If there's an outstanding request already, it won't let them select that medication again. As with SystmOne, they can then send any notes linked to that request. And then the info box is displayed based on your settings within organisation preferences. Okay, let's go back to our menu and look at the next option, which is history. Underneath history, there are a number of different things that can be selected, and these would all sit within the patient's medical record. So for instance, documents or lab results. By selecting one of these, such as summary, I now see all the contents of the summary. So recent medication, for instance. You might notice that all the options underneath the history menu are also available by dragging across in this screen. So I can drag across the vaccinations and as a patient be able to see all my vaccination history up to date. So in the full record, as a patient I can only see the information that's been given to me via the organisation. I could search my full record, for instance, using the search icon in the top right hand corner or the icon next to it. This will allow me to export my full medical record. It opens as a PDF document and, as shown, can be saved onto a phone or emailed elsewhere. So we mentioned earlier that patients can add data into their medical record via Airmid. So the plus button in the bottom right hand corner gives me different data types that I can add to my record. So say I want to add a reading. This will give me the option to put in the date and time this was taken, and then I can enter which reading it is I want to put in. So for instance, I might have weighed myself this morning. I can then enter that numeric and save it. For all numerics, progress can also be tracked by using these graphs. This data can also come from your Apple Health Kit or Google Fit when it's linked to your phone or your smartwatch. When viewing readings and progress, you can select which numerics it is that you want to see by default and hit save. Another feature we built into Airmid is the clinic locator. So this allows a patient to search for a health facility near them by type, speciality, or by doing a custom search. So I might want to look for a pharmacy. This then loads Google Maps and shows me any pharmacies that are near my current location. So I've now returned to the app and let's look at the family feature within Airmid. So this is basically how proxy access works within SystmOne. So here I'm able to see perhaps this is patient's child's record. If I now launch the child's record, it does tell me that I'm viewing a different Airmid user's health record. On the left hand side again, the menu is similar. However, this particular patient is under 5 years old and therefore gets 2 extra options for developmental first and dental health. The developmental first node allows you to record significant points in a child's development, much like a physical red book. So here I could record something like the first time a baby rolls over and the day it was done. There are other options in here, such as interactions with people, so perhaps when their eyes start to move to watch you. Going back to the menu, now let's look at the dental health functionality. So this is basically just allowing you to record the date that tooth is showing. There's also a link to NHS choices within the screen. If I now go back to the family menu, I can return to my own record as if I was logged in as the patient. One of the last menu options we're going to look at is organisations. So organisations basically allows a patient to decide if they want the data they've entered in the Airmid app to be viewable within the SystmOne unit. If they do decide to disable this, it gives them a warning to do so. There's also an option to subscribe to content. That basically just means, are they able to access the surveys or templates that have been published from your organisation. The last thing is the settings within Airmid. So within here, a patient can decide to set up fingerprint authentication for logging in. They can set their lockout time. One clever thing here is being able to import data from Google Fit automatically. So they can link it to one of their Google accounts and it will automatically import readings, perhaps such as their blood pressure. The patient can also do settings as you would normally expect from an app, such as changing their notification settings or specifying Wi-Fi or mobile data only. So where can a patient get help? There is a help section within Airmid where a patient can look through what particular help there is they're trying to find, and it will give them detailed instructions on how they can do things. So for instance here, such as configuring their home screen. So now that you've had an overview of how Airmid looks and all the different functionality within it, let's just return to SystmOne to look at some of those things that we've just been entering into Airmid, or the functionality we've talked about. So if I go back into my patient's record now within SystmOne, and if I navigate straight to my tab journal, you can see here that this is the patient app tab. So as normal, you'd have your GP tab, you might also look at community data separately. Now with the patient app data, you can see this in one screen and look at what the patient's entered. So here my patient's filled in the COVID-19 symptom checker a few times. They've also filled in a template that about an app health check. So just as a quick recap, we've set up the tab so you can see patient app information entered, but if you did want to switch this off on a patient-by-patient basis, you can do this within the online services option and within the Airmid node. When we were in the app, we talked about how you can have Airmid conversations. These come into the SystmOne unit via a task, so here you can see details of a conversation we've had with the patient. These can be replied to by updating the task as normal. For medication requesting, these also come in as a task, but as with System Online, they come in as this online services prescription request and can be dealt with in the same way. The last thing we're going to cover is just how to send out notifications in bulk to patients. So that was one of the first things we looked at in the app, where you can have it linked to a template perhaps for patients to fill in more information. So anywhere you've got a list of patients, whether it be from a report output or perhaps on an appointment list, on your right click on your bulk actions, there's this option here for send patient app notification. So in here you can send a message only, or perhaps you could link it to a template like we did before. So this gives you a link to all of your templates within the unit, and then here you can select the COVID-19 symptom checker. You can also link it to a URL. Once I select OK, this notification will be sent to all of my patients that are highlighted. I hope that you have found this video demonstration useful and that you feel more comfortable and aware of the functionality that Airmid can offer, particularly as we look to the challenges that the next few months could bring with COVID-19. Here are some links to further videos and also our PDF user guide that can be accessed via our tpp-uk.com website. We believe that these should answer any questions that you have, but if there are further questions, please direct these to the below email address. Thank you.